are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to Global Watchman News. My name is Lori Swan. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you are in the live chat, we do ask to keep it family friendly. There will be moderators in there to make sure that we stay within the terms of service put forth to us by our platform utilizing tonight. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Take a minute, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when we go live. So, guys, I wanted to welcome you all to the chat room again. And again, Ernie has previous family. He's got family obligations on Wednesday, so we're going to try to work around him. I just haven't had a chance to do anything about it. But we've got our good friend, Big John, with us tonight. Hey, John.
Hello, how are you? It's your old pal back again one more time.
One more time. So good to hear that again. It's been a, yeah, boy. I've been watching your videos over on TikTok. I don't know if they're old ones or not, but they keep showing up on my For You page for some reason.
No, they're new, actually.
Are they? Okay.
Out here and start putting out the stuff.
The mots. You got the mots, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. So tonight we're going to talk to you guys about something that John's been putting this information out there for a long time, even before he joined us here. He's been putting out the information and talking about this, and it seems like maybe a few people have caught on to it, but not too many. And it's very important because it's important to know. I'm one of those people that in order to understand the future, you've got to go back in time. You've got to understand the past in order to move forward and to understand what's going to happen. Because in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the return of the Son of God comes. So tonight we are discussing ancient cosmology. We're going to look at some missing aspects of human and pre-human history or cosmology. Our history has been manipulated, changed, hidden, and counterfeited. You have heard of the saying, quote, history is written by the victors. Well, it's also been hidden by the same people. Not everything has been accurately recorded. Some details have been hidden to maintain control over humanity. If we were to know the truth, we might understand that we possess the same authority as those that have placed themselves in the position of being our leaders. But over time, the truth seeps out, and surely it may sound crazy to those who are indoctrinated to believe that we are being told the truth. Some of the things that Big John and I will be discussing tonight may sound crazy to you. But remember, you can't admit that we have been lied to about some things and deny that we are actually being told the truth about some other things. So everyone has heard about Mars. It's the fourth planet from the sun. It sits between Earth and Jupiter. It's referred to as the red planet. Early sci-fi movies frequently used Martians as the protagonist in many early movies. In 1898, H.G. Wells wrote a book entitled The War of the Worlds, which depicted a Martian invasion of Earth. Halloween night in 1938, radio broadcast was held and heard by millions, narrated by H.G. Wells himself. The broadcast was responsible for inciting panic by convincing some that they were actually listening to a broadcast because it was delivered in what was quote unquote breaking news format. So, people thought that the Martians had invaded. And when we think of Martians, we think of little green men. You can remember Marvin the Martian from Looney Tunes. This was a stereotypical way that people thought about Martians. But little green men isn't an accurate depiction of what Martians would be. What if Martians look like us? What if Mars had proof of human, I want to say, civilizations? What if the same things that we see here on Earth, the pyramids, we can also see on Mars? That's some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. John, you've been putting this information out for a long time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about from the beginning? Because we're not going to talk about the time of Adam and Eve. We're going to talk about what happened before, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, so I had kind of now when I said I converted in 2015, of course I don't think TikTok was around then, but of course I did the whole give my heart to Jesus, and had a lot of dreams and just a lot of experiences with him, and learning about Paul's epistles and all that good stuff. So it started out with the word before I got into any kind of fallen angels or whatever, and about 2 months in of saying, Jesus is real after waging war on the thought of him for the entire time of my whole life and being an atheist. So I asked him, well, what's this, I hate to burden you, but I don't get it. Like, why am I on a planet? Are we around the sun, or what I learned in class, or, just all these different questions. And that's when the series of these dreams came to me, and about like civilizations. And basically he said, I've come to reverse what the fallen angels did. And that literally, set off a light bulb in my head. And I was like, that's it. And I couldn't turn back. I was like, that's what happened. So the whole thing about I guess probably one of the next topics was what they call the gap theory, because we even when I did go to church as a kid and listen to the stories, like it just started in the garden, right? And there was a boa constrictor in the tree, and it said, "Don't eat the apple because your eyes," or it's just like very, I guess everybody's heard it, right? It's the same old song and dance. And as a kid, even though I didn't believe in the Lord, I kind of thought, I don't know. That's kind of like that's a really good story, but I'm just not understanding how it correlates to me. So when I had this conversion, and obviously I already had that the museum operation also came into effect, and that's what got me into the whole, that's Osiris, that's Ishtar. I had no idea. Like I said, I thought they were just mummies. And so there had to be something before Adam and Eve, because there's just a few points in the scripture, like, you know, replenish the earth. It's like, well, how do you replenish something if it never had anything in the first place? And then you have the what they call the gap theory, which is between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, which people can say there's like 15.8 billion years in between. And I get that number because, number one, Stephen Hawking said it, and I've heard that Bill Gates has talked about it. But even if you take the measurement of time that God gave Moses, like 1,000 years is a day, I mean, it literally comes out to pretty close to like 15.8 billion years. That's how old the Earth is, not that's how old humans as we know them are.
Right.
Like 6,000, right? So, and then so it's like, well, you know, when he came forth and said, "Let there be light," the earth was without form and void, and the actual words is like in Hebrew is tohu and bohu, which is not, it's not translated correctly. The correct translation, it says it became desolate and empty. That's a real meaning. And you can ask even the scholars who hate on everybody on TikTok or anywhere else, you know, they have to admit that's what it says. But then that's where it ends at. Nobody else thinks about it. But it's like it became that. So it was empty before Adam was on the planet. Like, how does that make any sense if nothing happened? So the next thing that I came across was the flood of Jeremiah. And that's in chapter 4 of Jeremiah, verses 22 to 29. And basically it was a vision Jeremiah got from God that said, you know, out of the, you know, great anger of the Lord, he broke down the cities. The birds of heaven had fled and there was no man. And it's like, well, I'm thinking, well, from the Bible story, from the school, Sunday school, and everybody else you go to church with, I thought God created the animals, you know, and they got on the ark with Noah and this and that. It's like, how were there birds, but there was no man? Because that's literally what it says. It's not any kind of mistranslation. It had birds, and a bird is a bird. It's nothing else. But there was
What verse of Jeremiah was that?
Chapter 4, verses 22 to 29. I call that the flood of Jeremiah.
4:22 to 29.
And that flood of Jeremiah was the third angelic war, which was on the earth. So it's like, well, there were pre-Adamites. Mm-hmm. And people can say, well, no, you know, we're the humans. No, we're the tillers of the earth. And I had kind of touched on that in these last videos because I can't explain, like, I have all this in my head and I have some stuff written down, but it just comes to me like on a whim. And like I said before, I'm nothing special. I'm doing my regular day job and I can see like a bug crawling, you know, they got like these weird beetles out here. And I'm like, the creeper thing. And then it'll just remind me of, like, that's what God said, bring forth the creeper thing. And it's just, I'm like, well, it's got to be something. Like, you know, how can, just like I said in the video, like how does Adam and Eve, they couldn't have belly buttons. They came from the ground and Eve came from a rib. So how they weren't in a womb. So how they got a belly button? You know, it's like literal questions like that. And
those are questions that I used to ask myself, you know, during my religion class, because I went to a Catholic school. And I swear I could, before I even, over the number of years, before I would even ask anything, you could see the priest just going, oh, here comes Lori. Here she comes. You know, and I'm asking the hard questions, you know. And he did finally admit when I was in high school. He finally did admit, he's like, look, he goes, you know, the Bible is just the timeline of humans. He says, you know, there was other stuff. We weren't the first of God's creation.
Yeah. And I think that when you read it, like, you know, exactly what it says, we are in the likeness and image of God. So you hear on a common, I don't, you know, maybe because it's a language or everybody's heard the term mankind. Well, really think about man-like mankind. Are we kind of a man or are we like a man? You know what I mean? That's two different things. And if we're the likeness and image of God, because that's what it says, well, we're like a man. Now, what's mankind? Well, then if you read a little bit up, it says God made a male and a female. Well, who were they? Because he says he put Adam, the tiller of the earth, in the garden in likeness in his image, and then the animals. But even with the animals, you notice too, like, and I'm talking about on a literal, simple level. Do people really think that the Noah's Ark had a blue heeler or a pit bull? No. You had like basic monogamous DNA animals, like maybe a giraffe or whatever. You don't need two things to make. Like, it's just there. So, and that's my opinion too, real quick, is that Noah's Ark didn't have all these animals. It had the basic things. There was no huskies, there were no poodles, there was none of that.
Right. There was, yeah, it was the at the primal level. It was at the basic level. It was before
Yes.
any DNA changes were made. It was like the clean form of a clean template of that animal.
And clean too. Like, you got to think, and I'm really trying to do good and stay on topic too. If you talk about the animals, think about this. If they had birds, if the birds had fled when God broke down the cities, and real quick, the cities are Atlantis and Ultima Thule, Hyperborea, all the cities, Shangri-La, Shambhala, all of them. Okay, Hyperborea. Okay, those are the cities he broke down the foot of Jeremiah. Okay, so you got birds that fled and there was no man. Well, you had animals. And if you go to Genesis and read, how come the seas and the earth brought forth things and then God created things? Like, each one brought forth the animals. That's what it says.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about the animals in the ocean. Doesn't it say God created the whales, but the sea brought forth the sea creatures?
So let me ask you a question. Would it be that some of the things that were brought forth from the oceans were things that were left over from the previous?
Yes, I think they were left over from the earth war and the flood of Jeremiah.
Okay, so those would be Leviathan and
There'd be a lot of things in the sea, since the sea never was judged in either flood.
Right. It's interesting because when I used to watch River Monster,
yeah,
I would again, just like you, there's things that I know that I just don't know how I know. It's like I've known them forever, and things will just like it just remind me of, oh, this is, And so I was watching River Monster, and I was looking at some of these things, these I don't know, loosely call them fish, but I was like, there's no way the Father created those things.
That's right. And this is, in my opinion, this is how I see it. The next thing I'm going to say, because I'm thinking about it, just a simple thing. Somebody who stocks shelves at a grocery store. I work in the oil field, or whatever you may do. This is just simple thought. Okay. If this is how I know they had animals before Adam, and this is how I know that they were either left over or came forth from, I'm going to say Rahab, which we'll get into soon.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing is, Adam just named them. So that tells me they already existed, but they didn't have a name. Isn't the whole naming thing important in the scripture? Like, till you got a name, then what is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why did it have to say that? Like, of all the things it could say, like, Adam could have done anything to him. He could have, like, petted him. He could have built him a barn. He could do whatever he did, but he said, no, he just named him. So that's important to me. I think everything in the scripture is a literal importance. It doesn't waste time.
And when we say that, Adam named him, we're not talking about he named him like Gus and Louie. He actually gave them the names of horse and cow.
Yeah, he named them as we know it, because those words have translated from that. So, and real quick, every word and letter is a photonic letter from the Phoenicians mixed with Greek syllables. And we'll get into that later with the Mars stuff. Okay, so the second thing about the animals is, now you remember what it says when the Nephilim came down. Or we'll say fallen angels. When the fallen angels came down, it says they found the women to be fair. But it also says that they obviously were doing nasty things with insects and animals, right? Well, tell me this. The animals and insects already existed because they already did stuff with them pre-Adam. Because who finds things fair more than once?
Right.
Why would the humans catch their eye, but not say nothing about anything else that they're having intercourse with? It's because they've already seen the animals and the insects.
That makes sense.
That's how I take it, because it's not like, why if these fallen angels they're interdimensional, they can do all these things, blah blah blah, but it's going to say they found them fair. It could have described what nasty things they were doing, but it said they found them fair because it's the first time they ever seen them. They already seen the other stuff. That's how I know that stuff already existed. Adam was just nice to him, and he was if he's a tiller of the earth, isn't he a caretaker too? Isn't Jesus a shepherd and Adam? You know what I mean? Like, it's like all those things are just literal simple things. So, and I think that after that, after the whole Garden of Eden event, it's obvious that it says that the fallen angels came down and found that at this time the human women were fair, and they just continued their nasty things with the animals and the insects. Now humans were involved, and then of course you get the flood and go on from there. Now, it says in Genesis 6, Noah was perfect in his generation. Now, generation's DNA, literally, it's blood. Perfect. I mean, it's not like without sin. Here's another thing I want to add too. I mean, how do we know about sin? How does Lori know about sin? How does Big John know about sin? How does the audience know about sin? Weren't you told that? I mean,
we were told it, but I think I didn't need to be told not to do certain things, knowing that they were bad.
Okay, so you had morals, or did you have like attitude? Like, moral would be not going to take your fellow man's life, right? I mean, still in the candy bars, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I want to say, like a voice. There's like your inner voice. It's like your conscience telling you the difference between right and wrong. And some people don't have that. I hear that's something that I just found out recently. Is not everybody has that little voice that tells them the difference between right and wrong.
Where I'm going with that is whether you learn sin or when you grow up because we're in a Babylon basically, but I don't think that the fruit. I think the knowledge when anything about sin, I don't think had anything to do with any kind of intercourse, nothing like that. There was none of that in the garden. Was there even blood? Why do you need blood in the garden? I mean, think about this. If the earth cried out and moaned and made these noises like the book says when Abel's blood touched it, I never heard it again. I never heard the earth cry out for innocent blood ever again, not since Abel. So that was the first time that it happened after the garden. That was after the garden. So in the garden, there was nothing. So I don't think like this first sin that Eve did had anything to do with eating from a tree. I think she literally took a quince from the tree and learned the knowledge of Mars and Rahab. And God was like, not this again. Because after that, what the fallen angels did to the animals and the insects on Mars and Rahab, boom, doing it again after he made man in his likeness and image. I mean, it's just, the whole thing is the DNA play. There's nothing else is ever explained why the earth flooded. The men were drinking and marrying around. They weren't marrying, but that don't mean no marrying no people. And giving into marriage, that means doing the nasty with things that aren't human. Why would it be that? Why would he flood the earth? Oh, Noah's blood's perfect, by the way, but these guys are all, running around with the tramps. That doesn't make sense. Marrying and giving into marriage means doing it, because when the woman asked or whatever, like, who's her husband, what does Jesus say? Well, angels don't marry saints. He ain't talking about getting married. He's talking about angels don't do it with saints, because he came to reverse that. That's the whole problem. He told them, no, angels don't marry saints. Humans and giants don't need to mix. That's exactly what he told the disciples. Ain't got nothing to do with her husband. That's what they thought, because they had no knowledge of that. They're like, what? I mean, it's really simple.
I think people overthink it. I think it's right in front of us, and we read it, and we're like, oh, he can't be literal on this.
That's what I'm saying. It can't be, but it is.
But it is.
That was my thing. That's the reason why I drove away from any kind of religion or any kind of church, or even hearing someone say, well, Jesus, I'm like, oh, that white guy? Because the churches I went to had a blonde haired, blue eyed man on the cross. And even as a kid, I'm like, there ain't no way that guy. You telling me
Jesus.
That guy's from Israel. He's from Nazareth. He looks like he's from, fucking Texas or something. I mean, he ain't. He ain't a white guy. I knew that. I knew that as a young kid.
I did too. Yeah.
But
especially the part when Joseph and Mary took him to Egypt to hide him. Really? You took a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy to Egypt to hide him? Okay, how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, and I just think that drove me away from when they would like add, and I'm like, well, that's not. And I'm reading it as a child, and I don't have a mind of an adult.
Right.
There was one bad kid in 5th grade that knew what nasty words were. That we were all like, what's that guy talking about? Nobody knew that. When I was in 5th grade, nobody knew what that was.
Right.
He was bad. So what I'm saying is, like, not every, it's not that kid was bad. He just heard it from wherever. But now, obviously, everybody's got a phone, and every human knows about everything. So yeah. So that as I take it, I just take it as I read it, like literal read. Like, why would you have to translate that if it's just simple? Oh, they don't marry. Oh, they're doing these things with these Nephilim. And it's like, but it's in the same verse. If people can harp over and over again, not just me, but anybody can say the Book of Enoch, why would you have men doing these basic bar hopping, opinionated sin, but then you got these damn giants running around screwing everything? You know what I mean? So it was an all around fact that everybody but 8 souls were corrupted in the DNA.
Yeah, the Bible kind of drops the ball when it comes to that entire topic, that entire, period of time. It's like they tell us a little bit, and then like just, something shiny, and they go on something else.
Well, I think a lot of it was taken out, obviously.
Yeah. Because I do believe that
because
everything was written down. I believe that there's not 18 years of missing in Jesus's life either that we don't know about. I think it's all written down, and they've just removed it.
I think Genesis 6 helped me understand the Old and New Testament. That one, Genesis 6:4, that one verse helped me understand the entire Old and New Testament.
So given that we know that this was an extension of what had happened pre-creation, and because
pre-Adam creation,
pre-Adam,
the Earth already had a war on it, so yeah.
Right. Okay. So this all happened, that there was something that was a history, a literal civilization history pre-Adam that had been destroyed, left this world in chaos, left this world void, and it was just recycled into what God created.
And Lori, what else is a coincidence? I guess, like, how's it happen like that? Remember the words tohu and bohu?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're also found in the Jeremiah chapter I told you about. Well, how is that possible? The same words. That's a mistranslation. It's a proven fact that it was mistranslated, so it means something else than what you read. But the same words, tohu and bohu, are also found in the Jeremiah chapter 4 narrative that I gave you, because it tells the story twice. The earth became empty; it was destroyed and emptied. It tells you that twice.
Yeah, I'm actually going to read it. It's Jeremiah chapter 4.
29,
Starts. What's that?
22 through 29.
22. Okay, it says, "For my people is foolish; they have not known me. They are Scottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, and they had no light. I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. And I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of the heaven were fled. I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord and by his fierce anger. For thus hath the Lord said, the whole land shall be desolate, yet I will not make a full end. For this shall the earth mourn, and the heavens above be black, because I have spoken it. I have proposed it. I will not repent, neither will I turn back from it."
There you go.
Yeah.
Says it. It's not the end. I'm going to close it up. And then guess what? Genesis 1:2, welcome to it. Let there be light. That's where we start our story at. But Jeremiah had a dream. He told Jeremiah what the earth was before Adam was on the earth. He just said it. It's not the end yet, but I'm going to close it up. I'm going to tear it up. Broke down the cities, but I'm not going to end it.
So this is where Atlantis comes in. This is where the pyramids come
all this in. Yes, all those, everything that is on people's minds about these cities that are talked about, that's them. It's Shangri-La, Shambhala, Ultima Thule, Thule, Hyperborea, Atlantis, New Zealandia. I don't know the actual name, but that was New Zealand and Australia in between it, there was a whole continent. So I mean, yeah, it's all
that science has actually proven in the last couple of years.
Oh, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like and the thing is, they put out here's the catch-22. You can have all these scientists actually discover on their own. Yes, that does happen. But the damn Luciferians, I mean, this is what we talk about is just like to them, yeah, so what? We'll have it again one day. They already know what it is. That's like almost, I don't want to be in that bloodline, but those assholes already know what it is.
Right.
And they don't care because it's like, well, at some point we'll have it back. But yeah, so yeah, it's proven scientifically, or it's already known about.
Yeah, those bloodlines, and it's not just the 13 quote unquote 13 families of the Illuminati. It's also the black nobility. We have 13 of those as well. Those are actually
the black cube, like I call the black cube bloodlines, because okay, the ultimate thing in people's conspiracy minds is, oh, wow, the bloodlines from Tower of Babel. Hold on a minute. We're talking about bloodlines from Rahab. Think about that. Now, is it actual blood? No, but it's these things that existed at the time that are still around, because you can't kill the fallen angel, that, they come and they obviously got with women, and then the bloodline or their lineage, if you want to call it that, is obviously in these Nephilim hybrids. So, but yes, the people, the fallen angels who came to Earth, and what we read were on Rahab and Mars, and then the flood of Jeremiah doing whatever they do.
Well, because Satan, Lucifer's fall, had to come before the creation.
Oh, Lucifer was the king of Rahab, and another thing is Earth. When Lucifer was still in heaven, Earth was his throne. That's why he knows it so good. He got thrown from Earth to Rahab.
Let's talk a little bit about Rahab.
What's that?
Let's talk a little bit about Rahab. Is Rahab the same as Tiamat?
Yes, because Rahab is the biblical or the Egyptian name, and Tiamat's Babylonian, but it's the same thing.
Okay, because when I pulled up, so I was, like I said, I told you before, I was going to send you something last night. I don't found it. I thought I took a screenshot of it. I was going to send it to you. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want to disturb you, so I was going to wait till today. Went to get it, and it's gone. And I know I took a screenshot of it. But it has something to do with the term Rahab and the Hebrew of it. And
yeah, go ahead.
so in Hebrew, Rahab has a few distinct meanings and contexts. Rahab is the most well-known Canaanite woman who Jericho in the book of Joshua, who aids the Israelite spies.
Yep.
And also Rahab is a mythical monster. In the Hebrew Bible, the term Rahab also refers to a primordial sea monster symbolizing chaos and arrogance, sometimes equated with Leviathan.
Yep, the chaos dragon, yep.
Which I thought was quite interesting.
And Rahab is also in the book of Job. It says that God broke it apart.
Oh wow. Oh, here, I found it. So in the year 2009 is specifically relevant to the meaning of Rahab as a term. In 2009, the Academy of the Hebrew Language officially adopted Rahab as the Hebrew name for the planet Neptune.
Neptune, the water planet.
The water. Yeah.
You know, it's associated with the sea because, so when you had Pangea, didn't you technically have one ocean?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And Pangea would have been what it was during the flood of Jeremiah.
Right.
All the cities are powered by the, pyramids. They're all in the same power grid before the continents got broke apart. Like the Lord, the earth was together. Genesis 10:25 says the earth was not divided in those days. And he broke it apart during the Tower of Babel. One, because, like I said in my videos on TikTok, you can't see God's face, right? So he appears as other things. Mm. You don't say that in the Tower of Babel. It says it opened up the gates of heaven. Like God wasn't a burning bush on the throne. He's like, they can see me. I know what they can do. So he went to the extensive measure to make sure that that never happened again and confuse the languages. But he broke apart the continents. And you got to think, why would he have to do that if he's powerful enough to confuse everybody? Because he broke apart their power system that made that damn Stargate work to open up the gates of heaven.
Right.
And
yeah, we're going to do a whole show on Stargates pretty soon because we touched on it like a couple of years ago, but I want to go deeper because there's a lot of more things.
Yes, and he so the pyramids were a power source, and they're just on the. I mean, Tesla figured it out. They're also the same ley lines. How come all the earthquakes and volcanoes are on the same thing?
Right.
And it's just like he broke apart the power grid. So he did, and that's just something nobody really thinks about. But why not? What other reason why he broke apart the continents? He wanted to form the Grand Canyon. You know what I mean? Like he wanted to do those things.
Right.
No, he took apart the grid system because the thing is, this existed on Mars and Rahab. They just brought all their operations to the Earth. And enter 2025, and it's like, yeah, all the continents were together. All the pyramids were here. It's just, it's that literal. Yeah, 6,000 years ago, he made Adam and Eve. And then, who's to say gestation was 9 months anyways? Nobody can prove that. You know what I mean? It's like, why come every animal is different? Don't they match as a human as what, a horse?
Yeah,
it's like, nobody finds that important. The gestation of a warm-blooded mammal. I mean, how come they give birth like us? And like even the animals in the ocean, like some do, some don't. Live, some eggs, it's like those are all important things. That's just not like, a reptile, an amphibian, and those other. No, how everything works genetically is for a reason. Whether it got messed with, and it's not necessarily makes them bad. But do you think that if they had biolabs at the time on the planet, I mean, we'll have to do a show one time on the artifacts that I was offered. This like DNA. We can all agree that DNA is a huge concept in the Old Testament, right? And did they mess with something? But does that make them bad? Like whatever they mess with, if it's corrupted in the DNA, that means that it has that Nephilim hybridity, blood to it. But if they had animals that give birth at a different age of the month, because do you know that like the birth month in Egyptian zodiac is very important.
It is.
The gestation of an embryo and the Egyptian zodiac is also important. It's like nobody, and I like to say, I want to reiterate, I'm not special. I think about these things, and I think there's a whole lot more than just don't get me wrong. I love the salvation, but it's the only. Honestly, I love Jesus very much, and I don't care what happens. An alien can tap dance in front of me, and I'm be like, get out of here. I'm rebuking it. Nobody's gonna turn my mind about the guy. But the thing is, when the light bulb went off was because of this. Because I asked the Lord, I know that you're real, but I don't get it. Did you come down here to save me from my job and my back hurting and stuff? Like, and going back at this, like, no, this is what happened on the planet. And I'm going to tell you, that concreted me. I'm concreted in the knowledge of the Lord. Like, that's why I said, nothing can steer my mind away from that Jesus ain't real.
Right.
So that's like I said, just my opinion. That's how I see in my eyes.
Right.
And
well, when you look at the history of this planet, aside from biblical, let's put the Bible up on the shelf for just a minute and just kind of look at geographically the planet. There are so many things that you've got, science telling us that this is this old, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. The numbers don't add up when we know that humanity is only a certain number, thousands of years. And we've got the Bible to back all that up. So when you have things like the pyramids, or you have things like, I'm trying to find, guys, if you, not right this moment, but when you get done listening to the video, go back, go to Google, to a Google search, and put in two things. Put in electrical current through wood, and then pull up a picture of the Grand Canyon. I'm going to see if I can do that right now for you guys. Because there was something, the scars had been formed on this planet that give us a good idea of what had happened. And it coincides with the Great War that happened, why humanity moved down here, right? Let's see if I can find it.
Like, I mean, people believe in the fact that Egyptians arrived in the Grand Canyon because they knew what was there. It's like, why would they go there? Obviously they had their stories of them in Tennessee and Texas and stuff, but it's just the Grand Canyon, they already knew what that was from it being Pangea. They knew the history of that.
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to pull this up. Let me just a second here. Share my screen. Okay, so take a look at this, guys. Should I could pull this up? Maybe pull this one up bigger. I'm trying to pull this up. Find one that's a little bit bigger. Okay. So if you take a look at, I guess this was the best one. If you take a look at this, this is actually current. This is a piece of wood that has been burned by electricity. Okay. And now let's take an aerial picture of the Grand Canyon. See what I'm talking about? There was something that happened. You cannot tell me that the Grand Canyon was formed by the Colorado River, okay? I'm sorry, but that's just a crock. If you look at this is actual scarring of our planet from something far greater than we've ever experienced, isn't it?
Oh, no doubt. I think that because now if you look at that and say that's what that is, when I think it might. I mean, it could be, right? And I think it is. Like the Grand Canyon, there's something about it. The Egyptians didn't go there, and they didn't make it so secret till this day because NASA owns a lot of that stuff. So why the hell they own that? And you can't go in there. So what is that? But anyhow, and if you want to get into that, Lori, with like the destruction of Rahab. Rahab is the asteroid belt now. In the book of Job, God blasted that thing. It was Lucifer's throne after the fall. He got banished from the earth to Rahab. And people say, well, there's no space or whatever. We talk about flat earth too, but even in the book of Obadiah, it says, he's talking about the fallen angels. You make your nest among the stars. Like you make your home among the stars. Like that's in space. And I'm always going to stick to that it's a planet because it's hard for me to, could it be flat earth and still got that? Maybe it's a flat Mars. I don't know. It could be. I just know that there is a place called Rahab and there's a place called Mars. And it's very important to people because it's in the headlines. Everybody's trying to get there, but that's the funny thing. Like, no, it was already there. People have already, been there or on it right now or whatever. Because they love it. The powers of this earth, the people that are in the know and they've been in charge, or the Nephilim or whatever, they love Mars. And the funny thing is, here recently, there's a picture of Mars in the media. And when everybody asks, well, I thought you said it was red. They're like, oh, no, it's not red. And that's it. Nothing else. They say, oh, it's not red. They don't give an explanation. They don't say, hey, sorry for lying to you since the 40s and 50s. They say, oh, here's the ice cap on there. Here's the iceberg. And, oh, it's blue, by the way. Because it's always been that. The Mars looks like the Earth. Okay? That's why there's so much weird things on the planet. And that's why there's so much interest in it, because the Earth and Mars look alike, but Mars has no atmosphere. And isn't it funny that the movie Total Recall is literally that? People work up there, but there's no atmosphere until they make the alien probe hit the glacier and it makes, you know what I mean? Like, come on now, that's exactly what it is. Like,
but there used to be. I found this. This is the Bible speaks of Rahab not only as a mythical sea monster, but as a mighty celestial being. Isaiah writes, "Was it not you who cut Rahab into pieces, who pierced the dragon?" Some scholars and mystics claim Rahab was once a living planet, a water world that orbited where the asteroid belt lies today. It was lush, radiant, and a home to angelic powers who ruled the heavens.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the pierce the dragon. Rahab is the Egyptian word. It's the chaos dragon. Tiamat is the Babylonian chaos dragon. And when you read in creation, it says, what's the only thing that wasn't good is when it says God's face moved across the waters and darkness of the deep. It's because of that. That wasn't good. Why wasn't it good? Because when he came back, that stuff was still there. The chaos dragon was on the planet when he said, let there be light. That's when he separated the waters and the land. I mean, it's all the same damn serpent deity.
Right.
And Rahab was broken into pieces where there's not one living thing on any asteroid. Like he wiped it clean. Well, then they all went to Mars. And the main part was the Cydonia region, which now all of a sudden they're sending back pictures. The people who are exploring the Mars Explorer, people can say, "Oh, that's a picture of Utah," or "That's a picture of
Greenland,
Nevada," or that. No, it's not. They're on the part which pisses them off the most. They're in Cydonia. Do you know what happened to Cydonia? God, we dropped some atomic eggs on Japan. He dropped 2 bigger ones on the region of Cydonia. There was a nuclear exchange up there,
which not only destroyed the civilization was there, but also destroyed the atmosphere.
Yes. Yeah. So, and a nuclear war, doesn't, if you got 2 explosions, doesn't necessarily mean the whole planet's going to be destroyed.
Right.
It's just that area is going to be nasty. And there's no atmosphere.
It says, next to Rahab stood Mars, is smaller but alive. Ancient traditions suggest it was a colony world, a mirror of Rahab's greatness. Even today, its surface shows scars of intelligence, geometric pyramids, faces carved into stone, and evidence of rivers and oceans long vanished. Could this be ruins of the forgotten civilizations?
Does Mars have moons?
No.
That's how many moons it got? 2, right?
Does Mars have moons?
I think it's got 2 of them.
You know what? That's something I've never really studied Mars. I don't know why. I mean, I've looked at every other planet.
It's Phobos or something like that.
Oh.
Mars was Rahab's moon. I know that.
Yeah, Phobos and Deimos.
Okay, so Rahab had 3 moons. Mars and its 2 moons are Rahab's 3.
Okay. Interesting.
Because Rahab had the original, like, Orion's belt. Like the Giza Plateau pyramids are in line.
They're aligned not only with Sirius, the dog star, but they're also, or I'm sorry, not Sirius, Orion's belt, but they're also aligned with the pyramids that is on Mars.
Yes, the main pyramid on Mars actually faces the Earth, and it faces the main pyramid in Cairo,
right?
The 5-sided one. So that's like, it's just when they say as above, so below, it means that it went from Rahab, Mars to Earth. There, the knowledge from the garden was that exactly of the knowledge of the Mars and Rahab. That's what they didn't want humans to mess with.
Apparently, there's xenon isotopes in the atmosphere of Mars.
Yes, there are nuclear isotopes in the atmosphere of Mars. A study done by that guy, he's from Midland, Texas, Brandenburg, and the Pentagon. Yeah, it's fact. Where they come from? Oh, because there was nuclear exchange up there.
In the book of Job and Isaiah, God is described as shattering Rahab, piercing the dragon, dividing the waters. Was this the end of the world he defied the Creator? From the ruins of Rahab comes chaos, debris raining upon Mars, leaving it lifeless desert. Also, it says here, which you talked about, Lucifer. It says, but power breeds rebellion. Rahab's ruler, the shining one, Lucifer, the morning star, defied the Creator. With his host, he waged war in the heavens. The book of Revelation speaks of Michael and his angels fighting the dragon. Could this war have been more than a metaphor? Could this have been a literal battle among the stars?
Yeah, it was. The first angelic war was Rahab. Yep. And the second was Mars. Third was Earth.
Well, it seems weird that, Mars is basically the only planet right now that we even would want. Why do we want to go back there so bad? Or why do we not back there? Why do we want to go there so bad?
They all know.
Because they know. There's a project that was taking place in Roswell, wasn't it? That they, or no, it was the one in New Mexico. where that was a Stargate where they were sending kids, or they were sending. There's supposedly already a human civilization there.
Yeah. They talk about it. There's a few people that say they were guards or whatever, security.
Right, they were there. They were 6 months there. They came back 6 months here. They were, but they had actual, that was their job, was to quote unquote work on Mars.
Yeah, and like I said, like the Total Recall movie, that's not far off to what's said. From people talk about that. That's before that movie was made. They've always talked about that physicist guy from Midland. He harps on that nuclear isotope stuff all the time, and there's 2 craters, and there's like grids of where buildings are at, and then the pyramids, and the whole thing is I need to dig that up, but the word pyramid translates from mound of Mars. It's a fact. And I'll tell you something else, and it does translate from it, and people can get mad or say no, it doesn't. But I'm gonna tell you why everybody harps about Mary Magdalene, and I said that too, about doing it with Jesus. I'm gonna tell you why. Because they know that Mary Magdalene, her DNA operation, do you know what her name translates from? Take a wild guess.
I'm afraid to even speculate. What is it?
Her name translates from Tower of Mars. And I told y'all, the Tower of Babel was a bioweapons facility. It was a biomedical lab. DNA, genome splicing fools in there. It's all about Mars. Everything comes from Mars. Rahab's all blown up, but it's Rahab technically. But everything comes from Mars. Mary Magdalene translates from Tower of Mars.
That's crazy. Here is a declassified document from the CIA titled Mars Exploration. It's from May 22nd, 1984. And
in Cairo, Egypt, in Arabic, Camp of Mars. Why is all that? Why is it that? Because the knowledge, Lori, there is no quince fruit in America. You can barely find it just only in the Middle East, right?
Right.
And people translate that, well, maybe that was because it's like a mix between an apple and a pear. But that's not the point. Do you know why that the fruit was used in the garden as a symbol? Was because what does it look like when you cut open a quince fruit? Why the hell does it have a 72-degree pentagon shape of the seeds? Why is there a 72-degree pentagon on Mars? Why the hell do we have one in Washington, D.C.? It's because it's a star pattern. 5-sided pentagon. I mean,
all these star forts, the same thing.
Exactly. It's like the fruit that she ate of has a pentagon or even a star map sequence of the seeds. The only fruit that does that, and is only found over there.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that.
Because the quince fruit's from Mars too. People call me crazy, but I guarantee that's what it is. I know that's what it is.
I'm going to pull up, show you guys what he's talking about. Here we go. There. That's what John's talking about with the pentagram. There are so many things that have been kept secret from us. And why keep it secret? Is it because we'd have control, or we would demand answers, or we'd want to go back? I mean, why all the secrets?
Yeah, I know it. That's the thing. Like, that right there. If you put those together, that's the pyramid on Mars, 5-sided. I mean,
yeah.
That because There was no other fruit. There wasn't no Washington red apple.
Right.
Eve didn't pick a Granny Smith apple. You know, that's all. That's all. Genetic manipulated fruit. A quince is what they had. I mean, if you think they had all that stuff, why would John the Baptist be eating locusts?
Right.
Come
Exactly.
on now, because they didn't have none of that. Nobody was eating watermelon.
Bananas, tomatoes,
There was none of that stuff.
potatoes. Yeah, they didn't have any of that.
Because the quince was the knowledge. The quince, why the hell you got a 5-sided pentagon in the seat? It's the knowledge of the Mars. That's what he don't want you to know. It wasn't, oh, well, you said a curse word.
Right.
Think about it, Lori. I hate to say it, but this stuff about now you said earlier about the morals. We're not morally bad as humans, because nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to go hurt somebody today. Nobody does that. Okay. It's influenced obviously by entities or whatever. But the separation of it was that that if you sit down in the church, like, what's bad? I had a Catholic book when I was a kid that my grandma gave me because I fast tracked to be a Catholic, and it was probably from the 60s, and it once again had a white Jesus in there, and it said about venial sin and mortal sin, and talking about what Mary can do for me and why I say Hail Mary. I'm thinking, this is a book that's forming my mind. Like, if I see a Playboy magazine or something my uncle had, it's like people think, oh my God, you're going to burn in hellfire. It's like, no, the church is doing it. When has Jesus ever been specific? If he says every sin is equal, but it's like, did he give a list of sins? Like, everybody thinks that Dante's Inferno, like different levels of sin and stuff, or the 7 deadly sins. Is that even real? Or is it morality?
Right. It's a good question.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what's been formed? What didn't Jesus say not to be prideful and stuff? Like, don't let the dead bury the dead. I didn't hear him say, well, if you got a Penthouse magazine and be looking at those things. If he knew what was going to happen already, why didn't he cover the stuff from this generation?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about that too as well. I mean, there's so many things that the church has. Again, I believe they've made up a lot of it for control.
100%. That's how I feel. I ain't special, like I say, but man, when I knew something was up. I wasn't even a bad kid. Hell, I was punished all the time. The only thing I could do was go to the library. So I read a lot of, I always call myself a well-educated child. But the thing is, I'm reading, von Clausewitz and Sun Tzu and, Genghis Khan. And I'm like, I could see what they're talking about literally when I would go somewhere with my mother or hear my parents chatting. I'm like, wait a minute, everything they're talking about. I think von Clausewitz is Paul the Apostle. I mean, they're not saying, that they lived at different times, obviously, but von Clausewitz, his theories on war is exactly what Paul says.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just think, here's Genghis Khan talking about how to take the high road, and people think he didn't, but it wasn't all the time that he would. Sometimes he wouldn't even leave a creepeth thing alive because it would bring hope. So he would take out everything, and sometimes he would leave a survivor to tell the story.
Yeah, he did. There was a reason. If you left somebody alive, there was a reason for it. I'm actually just scrolling because the parallels between what we know and what we don't know, and filling in the blanks. I mean, as above, so below doesn't, I mean, if you think on it, and like we've been told, like as above, so below, it means what happens on Earth happens in the underworld. I don't buy that
No, it
because
means it's from Mars to Earth.
it would be, what as above, so below. What happened there is happening here because it's basically the same characters because the angels are immortal. The only thing different is the creation of humans here on Earth.
Yeah, everything, like I said, is a Mars theme. So, what do you get? What is that thing in France or whatever with the pyramid that's facing like it's a upside down pyramid, so the point's on the ground.
Oh, the Louvre.
But it's built. Isn't it a mirror or something? And it looks like two pyramids touching with the points.
They're glass, yeah.
Okay, that's as above, so below them, because what was that shown in the Da Vinci Code, with old Tower of Mars, Mary Magdalene?
Yep.
Okay, so how is that real? Well, if you take the pyramid on Mars, the point exactly faces the main pyramid in Giza.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what formula that is? When you take a four-sided tetrahedron and touch one corner to each pole of the sphere, that's 19.47. The same year that Roswell happened.
Okay.
So the literal, that's where they got that formula at. That's what they gave us our president Roswell. That was the Nephilim president. But yeah, put a tetrahedron, each corner, two corners on the north and south pole of the sphere. That's 19.47 decimal degrees. Tell me how
that's crazy.
But that's not real, right? And that's not real. Well, why is it like that? I don't know. It can be like that, but it's not real because they don't want you to know. They got us out here worrying about paying for steak in Las Vegas. Nobody can afford now. When Mars is closing in.
Well, let me ask you a question about the recent discovery, what was underneath the pyramids now. Have you looked into that? Do you know anything about that?
Like the beams or whatever? I mean, I've
been so busy. I've been wanting to just sit down and just look at it. But there's actually been something discovered underneath, like another city or something.
Here's the thing too, right? The pyramids were once covered with quartz. And quartz found, like Tut had uridium, which is a metal only left over from a nuclear blast or a meteorite strike. So how in the hell you have that in a necklace? Why is the Sahara Desert got glass on the floor? Did he have nuclear weapons? Probably, maybe he did. Who knows? So quartz. The only quartz is where? Like the only real quartz that everybody's trying to get their hands on. And they flooded a bunch of the mines, North Carolina. Well, people have said in the Appalachians that there's pyramids in Tennessee. There's pyramids in North Carolina. The quartz that came from North Carolina has been found in Egypt. People say that the Appalachian Mountain Range connected to Egypt at one point when it was Pangea. I mean, you got to think, why would Egyptian things be found where a certain element is found?
Right.
And underneath it, because the pyramids were it was the energy plant. And the Tower of Babel technically wasn't far from it when it was Pangea. I mean, I think it powered everything. And like I said,
through the ley lines, I do too.
Yes, that was the power lines. It was the ley lines as we know it. I mean, where did we come up with that? You think somebody famous came up with some power lines coming from energy plant that powers everything? That's old knowledge. There's nothing new under the sun. What the hell's the difference in a power line? Nobody comes up with nothing. Maybe a traffic light.
Well, and because of the fact that, you know, free energy, and when Tesla was going to offer that, I mean,
Yeah.
this whole, to me, and this is just my opinion, I can't really, you know, verify it or validate it, but I think that this whole global warming thing, I think this whole, you know, the planet is, I think the planet's sick. Personally, I believe the planet is a living entity. I believe the planet is sick
Yeah.
because
They
we as
cried out.
humans get sick when something interferes with our electrical frequencies. When our frequencies are off, it throws off our metabolism, it throws off our equilibrium, it throws off our homeostasis, it throws off everything about it in our bodies, and we become sick. And that's what's happening to the planet because they shut off the power grid. They've taken the power grid and turned it off somehow.
Well, no doubt. But it's like I said before, like when Abel's blood, go read what it says about what the earth did. Who's ever heard of that?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not, God went like, oh, let me put a quick joke in here. The earth cries out and moans and cries. And no, it did that.
No, but we can see it with the Schumann resonance. I mean, the actual Schumann resonance, it's the Earth's heartbeat.
Yeah.
And this is all knowledge that the have kept from us because of the fact that, you know, they understand it, they know what's going on, and they're manipulating it. And I know, look at the same bloodlines destroyed Mars. What makes you think they're not going to destroy this one?
Well, no doubt. They, you know, because they just moved their operations, and it's like, what did they do on Mars that was different? Well, then enter the whole black cube conspiracy, and I've said it before about there's one entity. I know what they are. Somebody personally I knew experienced with them. I think it was a very enhanced vision rather than they actually had a hold of her. But the soul catchers, now they couldn't do nothing about Rahab. God blew it up and went to Mars, and they went along with their operations, right? Well, here's the thing. Now, can you say we got a soul or a spirit, or do we have both?
I think the soul is the physical part of it, and the spirit is the essence, right?
Yes, like what makes us us. Like to me, in my opinion, that's a spirit. Like how we're born and what we look like is what God commanded. Be fruitful, multiply. We have to look like our DNA mom and our DNA dad or whatever, right? That's just like it's a given. It's not. There's nothing sophisticated about it, right? It just happened. But what makes us us, like our niceness or whoever we are, because obviously we're all different. That's one thing. The DNA is different, even in twins. You can separate them. Nobody's the same DNA,
right?
Because it's the music of our lives, right? Song of Solomon, right? It's in the blood. But they have these things called soul catchers. Now, were they catching actual people from Abraham's bosom? In my opinion, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what CERN does. But and then you got Bob Lazar kind of talk about it a little bit. Where that guy's really
Bob Lazar, I think that man he's mucking things up. He's muddying the waters.
If he is, here's what I'm saying. The only reason why I say that is because of what he said about us being able to catch a soul and us being containers. That's not a big topic. And to me, if it's kind of talked about here and there, I'm buying it.
Well, it was talked about in 2013, I think it was 2014. It was for a short, I think it was like maybe one article talking about CERN being, it was soul harvesting.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it went away, and you couldn't find anything on the article. It was like they it was like they just put it out there to get their feelers out there, or to put it out there because they're required to tell us. So they put it out there and kept it, like 3, 2, 1, okay, pull it. Whoever you didn't see it, not our fault. We put it out there. Not our fault you didn't catch it.
Yes. And another person, and I talk about this all the time, like, to me, the people who had the most accurate things to learn from are all gone. And Russ Dizdar talked about these soul-catching entities because they were the Nazis had a lot to do with that, with the transducism of their Ubermenschen, Supermen, their Nephilim projects that they had. Transducism is where they manipulate the sperm before it hits the egg. Very evil stuff. But the only way that they can capture that, because that's you. That's, with the flash of light, when that happens, that's you coming through a portal. That's you leaving Abraham's bosom, and you enter the earth. These things could intercept that before, when you left Abraham's bosom, when he knew you before the womb, they can intercept you before you got to the planet. And they put you in a black cube. Now, the reason why that caught my eye and my attention was because it happened to somebody that I knew. And they told me about it, and I never, they didn't know nothing. This is my ex-wife. I never told her anything about that. I said it before, I got rid of the Black Awakening book. Nazis were too serious for me. Their experiments, the same way I say I don't want them artifacts. So the thing is, they took her, and it was very realistic, whether they had, I don't think they actually, I think it was a very enhanced Jesus given vision rather than actually being taken. Mm-hmm. But took her, and she told it very, very detailed. They had on, first of all, they were white, like not a transparent, like white, like maybe a medicine bottle white. They had some blue ass eyes, like blues, like, we talk about the blue blood or whatever, like, blue like the toothpaste or whatever, like kids use. And little black rubber looking hairs, kind of thick, like, 10 to 12 of them on back, and they had elongated skull too, a little mouth. And they're wearing like latex Count Dracula suits with a, like a tall collar. Mm-hmm. Count Dracula cape, all latex.
Could they be the Archons?
What's that now?
Could they be the Archons?
I don't. What is that?
Okay, so in the Gnostic beliefs, when the reality, the material world was created by Yaldabaoth, he also created, I think it was 5 other entities, and they were called the Aeons, and their job is to look over the earth, is to keep us in chaos, to keep us in deception, and to keep our souls trapped. Because that's the reason for the earth, is to keep recycling and not let us go to that next level. Well, because when we die, everybody said, when they come back, they said there was a light. They wanted to go into the light. They're telling where it's coming out now is they're saying, when you see that light, turn around, because that's the light that traps you. You need to turn around.
I've heard about the light and stuff and reincarnation, this and that. I never heard of those, but it makes sense to me.
And reincarnation is biblical, guys. I don't care what anybody says. It is biblical.
It's what I know is that she said that they had these, like, biblical cords or whatever, like, that attached them to the ship they were in. She was in a full metal room, control panels. She was on a table, saw them all wearing Count Dracula capes. They were all connected to the ship with a little black latex cord. And then they, at the same time, put something in her private and in her mouth. And then after that happened, she could see herself on the table, and she was standing in a box in a black cube, and she could see herself laying on the table, and they were doing stuff to her body.
Hmm.
This person has never told me that ever again, has never told me that before, didn't read anything that I had nothing to do with anything besides she told the Lord, do something about him. And I told that story. That's how he told me, I heard the innocent cry for you. She prayed for me, but she didn't know about no Nephilim. She knew Jesus, and that's all she cared about was that. Didn't care about nothing else. So that's how I know it was real. When she told me that, I was like looking around. And I love Russ Dizdar, God rest his soul, but I tossed that Black Awakening book. Because he said that's how the Nazis did the transduceism. And Lord, I mean, that stuff is something else. That gosh damn it. It ain't, man, ain't nobody got no damn problems on this planet till they run into that shit. I guarantee it ain't. Nothing is real. This is, like I say, I'm part of the ant farm because I like to eat and, drink sweet tea or whatever. And I mean, they got to have money to do that. So that's why I feel like I'm obviously part of the Masonic system with my Egyptian dollar bill. But the thing is,
but we're trapped into, accepting.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's
exactly.
what are you going to do? What other choice you got?
You're an ant farm. What we gonna do about it?
Right.
So it's like, but I think that people, the ant farm keeps us, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, keeps us pinned down with problems and bills and
exactly. And that's what the Gnostics. That's the job of the archons, is to keep us in that state.
Know about that, but God, that makes so much sense. Like that makes so much damn sense. But that's just what happened. And
supposedly they're I'm doing a Gnostic series, and that's my next thing. I think there was 5 of them. And what's interesting is that back when I first started researching secret societies, there was one group of I think it was the group, or the Council of 5, and they said that they meet like once every 5 years, and they're not human. And all I can think of now, looking back on that, it's got to be the archons.
Very possible. Now, after that happened, so that was a big time lapse. When that whole, let me try to say that word. Remember that fashion brand, Balenciaga?
Balenciaga.
Okay, so that wasn't that long ago, was it?
No.
Okay, so between me hearing that story, say in 2016, to that Balenciaga thing, I know that I saw that picture, and I think I found it. But when they started putting out, remember they put that kid with panda eyes or something like that?
Yeah.
In that Will's goth clothes. They had those fucking soul catchers. Excuse my language. They had those soul catchers in one of their posts, one of their Instagram or whatever posts. It was them wearing the black latex, and I said, holy shit, that's exactly what it. And it just, seeing that popped in my mind, that description, and that had been that long, and I was like, thank you, Lord.
I'm gonna pull this up. I think this is what you're talking about.
These, they're just elongated skull, white ass skin, blue eyes, little black rubber hairs, and little mouth. Something like that, too, but with a, Count Dracula collar on it. But it's them. It was them. It was the white head and the blue. I was like, my gosh, those assholes know what that is.
Yeah, this is the Balenciaga Couture 51st collection looks.
They were on a couch or something. It was 2 of them, but it was them. They had their white, and some of the artifacts, which this can relate to because they're from Rahab or whatever, but The artifacts found in Mexico City. There's a guy on TikTok. He actually has some real ones. It wasn't particularly. I'm not going to not put him on blast, but I don't want to like give him any exposure, of that. Like I think it's bad for him. He means well, but I don't like telling people really that he has that shit. But anyhow, I got offered some of them artifacts, and they do have replicas or recreations, or but some of the real stuff, which the recreations have the same thing pretty much of what the original stuff has, but there's a elongated skull entity with arms and wings and the snake, no legs, and the snake's tail. Like the rest of the body comes to a tail, and it's holding the Egyptian symbol of the DNA that they find in hieroglyphs all the time. That's them. That's what an original fallen angel looks like.
Wow.
And they dig this stuff up Mexico all the time, and people are killed for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People disappear down in Mexico for things like that.
And he showed me, and I have the picture saved, but he had a picture of a little tablet they dug up, and it has Toltec, era women. Like you could tell it's like, because is this a hieroglyphs or petroglyphs are the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell it almost matches like the Aztec, which came a lot later than Toltec, but it shows them kind of like in a circle or maybe a fire or something, but they all have an elongated skull baby coming out of their, birthing canal. And the babies all they put actual element to make the black eyes, almond shaped black eyes, like a shark's eyes. It's actual stone they put for the eyes on this tablet that they made. I mean, that's real. Doesn't it say in Esdras, women will give birth to monsters in those days? I mean, that's what it says.
Yeah.
So the whole point that women had intercourse with these, call them aliens, but we know what they really are. I mean, that's true. As crazy, and I'm telling you, in 1,000 years before I ever knew the Jesus Christ, I'd have said, "Get the fuck out of here with that."
Right. I actually watched a video the other day on YouTube talking about the punishment that these women endured because they said, the Bible doesn't tell us, but these women were punished for doing what they do. Most of them willingly went with these.
Yeah, and it's like, and to their defense, now this is the only way that I think or know that these things could possibly. Now, I'm not going to say that every woman's going to be looking at an elongated skull, snake tail alien with wings. Like, I think they're going to go run and jump on its bones. You know what I mean? But I think that they can take the form of a human only because in Sodom and Gomorrah, the two angels look like men. We know that for a fact.
Right.
So I know.
Well, yeah, they can. That's another thing. People always say, well, angels can't, you can't have two different species, mating or whatever. The angels they can shift shape. They definitely.
If the people of Sodom and Gomorrah said send the men out, well, they must look like men.
They must look like that. And here's another thing: is when you research and you look into like the Rh negative bloodline, the Rh negative blood types. You'll see that scientifically, Rh negative people have reptilian traits. Some of them are born with a cocada. It's a tail. It's like 3 or 4 or 5 vertebrae that stick out at the bottom of your spine at your tailbone, and it continues on, and it's a tail. They have lower body temperatures. increased heart rate. I mean, there's
Yeah,
all these things
yeah.
that are reptilian, quote unquote, reptilian traits, and they're associated with RH negative.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something else. Since you just said that, that's the area of the Caucasus Mountains, right? Where they say white
Yes.
people, right? Caucasians, right? RH negative people. Okay, now when you look up, we talked about the old quince fruit, right, with its pentagon. What is the main area of the quince fruit growth on the planet?
And if you tell me that it's the Basque region, I'm going to look it up. So
It is. It's in the Caucasus Mountains.
where do
It takes them 5 years to. It takes them 5 years, and they got to boil it to make it taste good. I don't know. Put it in the gumbo.
quince naturally grow? Shut up. Quince trees are native to the Caucasus region in Western and Central Asia. Wow. Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Iran, southwestern Russia, Mediterranean region. Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like why? Oh, I'm gonna tell you something else. This okay. I have never looked at earlier when I talked about zodiac. American zodiac or whatever it is. It ain't like the Egyptian zodiac. Okay, the Egyptian zodiac, in my opinion, they take that very seriously. Like that, that's Pythagoras kind of stuff. Like
right.
that's very so. I had told you, and this is for educative purposes only, not going against my NDA, but I told you long time ago around the time of the museum actual operation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'll remind you later if I have to, but I'll do that. Go look up what month. Go look up what month is ISIS, and you're going to be like, holy shit.
What month?
What month in the Egyptian zodiac is ISIS?
What month?
Our old pal, Isis, Ishtar, our wonderful egg lady.
July. Is it right? July?
No,
Hold on.
and Osiris is after her. She's in February, so just kind of
Egyptian calendar. I was looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, Egyptian. Isis is in February.
Oh, look at that.
Remember I said what's the devil number days before May Day? Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's always for a reason, Lori. That's all I'm telling you.
Man.
It's always for a reason.
And everything's always by, here's the thing is, a lot of people will say, stay away from astrology, stay away from, looking at your birth dates or everything like that. But those things are important.
Yeah.
When we're the day that we're born, the times that we are born, I mean, that sets our frequency for our entire life. Is that time that we're born? The time we take our first breath sets the frequency.
Go look up what calendar is on the Capitol Hill floor.
What calendar is on the Capitol Hill? Calendars on the Capitol floor. We want the actual floor, not the Capitol. Oh, jeez. On the actual floor. Nope, they're still giving me government. Okay, what calendar is decoration at the Capitol? Aztec.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frieze of American history, a long painted panorama running around the Capitol Rotunda is a decoration and includes a scene depicting the Aztec calendar.
And then the thing, the original Aztec calendar that we know of ended when? December 21st, 2012, right?
2012,
Everybody
yeah.
said, oh, that's nothing. Well, the Aztec calendar on the Rotunda floor actually ended December 21st, 2020.
This, hold on a second. This is the stone that's depicted on the floor. This is the actual Aztec stone. This is what we saw the Mayan calendar in 2012.
Yeah, it was 2020, but that's what's in the Capitol Hill. It's actually 2020, not 2012. They tell us 2012.
Right. Which would make whatever was going to happen then happening quite soon, right?
Yeah, because it happens. The Aztec calendar matches the Ethiopian calendar.
Ethiopian, yeah.
Capitol Hill. So yeah, it's like 7 years behind the Gregorian. So yeah, they got the calendar. They got the real schedule. That's
Well,
what I'm
what's
saying.
interesting is the Ethiopian Bible contains everything. The Ethiopian Bible, guys, even has those 18 missing years in Christ's life. The Ethiopian Bible tells us where he was and where he went and what he did.
That's exactly what it is. Well, Billy Carson said that if I give him $3,500, he'll tell me that Jesus, he'll show me where he went in Tibet.
Yeah, supposedly Jesus went to Tibet during those 18 years. Yeah.
He wants that Masonic money.
What? Yeah. I mean, you think about it. What's the big secret? Why can't we know what Christ did in those 18 years? Well, because because he did. He went to Tibet. It was one of the places.
It's funny to me, like all these people on the History Channel and Grant and Cock and all them yahoos or ancient aliens. It's like they talk about all these things and Washington, D.C., but it's like, but if you give me that Egyptian money in my hand right now, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's like, really? You want the Masonic money that you just been making 2 or 3 shows about? You want me to pay you that so you'll tell me about Jesus?
All you gotta do is get the the Ethiopian calendar. It'll tell you, or Ethiopian Bible. It'll tell you exactly where Christ was during those 18 years.
And even like the prosperity gospel preachers on TV, they all want that.
You want that almighty shekel.
They want Moloch on their money.
Hidden Moloch, exactly. Good Lord. What do you I'm just kind of getting off topic, but not really. What do you think of what's his name? Kind of spilling the beans. I can't think of his name right now. He's got the glasses. He's the UFO guy.
Greer.
What do you think about Greer? Greer's he's first off, he's control opposition. He's totally controlled, and the fact that they're letting him speak and put this information out there that he is, I don't know. Do you think Vega is right about 2025 and what's coming?
You talking about that?
Vega Baba.
I think that any kind of UFO stuff is just basic now. I think they still are using it because they can tell like what people. I mean, everything's an algorithm now, right?
Yeah.
That's how they can get like the whole world's population. Before they can never do that a long time.
Oh, they've got AI now. AI is monitoring everything as well.
Oh, Paul. I think Paul the Apostle wasn't talking about Jesus believers having a knowledge explosion. I think he was describing everybody else getting caught the hell up with this crap. And I think, and he wanted you to ignore it. But to me, when somebody says an interdimensional being moved time and space, well, isn't that what 33.33 is? Isn't that the most secret Masonic formula, that separation of time and space? Times 200 whatever 61,000 nautical miles of the Phoenicians.
Yeah.
There's a lot more formulas I'm gonna put out there next time, but it's like
Oh, you're not gonna make me start doing math now, are you?
I'll just send you I'm gonna draw it right on a piece of paper and just text you a picture of it. There you have it. But I think that everything is already known about and has been known about, but now is their time, like you said, with AI, to let the whole world know at one time. It's kind of like the Antichrist gospel, if you ask me. That's what I call it. And but it's a lot of basic stuff. It's about, oh my God, a UFO or drone or whatever. It's just maybe it's just me, but that doesn't interest me. If you got Stephen Greer, okay, next week I have high level intel Air Force. They're going to tell you about an egg. It's like, who cares? Nobody cares.
Yeah, and now we've got this. What is it? This 31 Atlas coming. It's supposed to reach the Earth, and I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's like, everybody get ready. It's going to be here soon. It's like, it's either, if you go like to a circus and you're awaiting the main event or whatever, it's all propaganda. And to me, it's just like basic stuff. It's done. I don't know. I'm not better than anybody else, but I'm far beyond a UFO. I don't give a shit. It's a craft. Big deal. Like, they got them. They've always had them.
Right, exactly.
It belongs to the fallen, or we reverse.
And they don't need to travel across the galaxy to get here. They're interdimensional creatures, anyways.
Like, they're already here.
Right.
They're with us already. They're in the fourth dimension. Like, they're walking with us. They're called influencers. I mean, how? To me, the most simplest thing I've ever been told was animals and babies can see into the fourth dimension, and then when you die, you'll see in the fourth dimension.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, again, frequency, our eyes only see it a certain very, very short span of what's
we're not like animals or bait. Like, it's just like Paul talks about. Oh, wait a minute, the familiar spirits. Oh, where the fuck they at?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And no wonder they know so much about us, because they're standing right here next to us. They hear everything we say.
Think about it. People really don't think that there's that many fallen entities. Everybody's got one assigned to them. I guarantee it. There's one that's sitting next to me right now. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got one. Whether you listen to it, that's one thing. Doesn't make you bad. It's just there. It's with everyone. Mm-hmm. And that's just a simple. When I said before, that's just a simple logical point. They're right there. And Paul says it, familiar spirit. Don't trust it, because it's been listening. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's with you.
Right. It knows about grandma. It knows what grandma told you when you were 3. It knows how to speak like grandma. So when she dies and she comes to visit you, that's not grandma. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the familiar spirit that knows everything about you. It knows your deepest, darkest secrets, because it's been with you, walking with you, talking with you, following you around.
There was one time I know of a story about somebody returning, and it was no way bad, in my opinion. And all I said to it was, because they know that I'm like, well, they got familiar spirits. And then through prayer, I'm just like, you know what? The Lord can do what he wants. I'm not saying that it ain't your grandma, or it ain't the girl that got killed, that, because their child drowned and they caught it in time. But the kid tells the story that a girl they kept describing came and held her hand, and then she pointed out a picture, and that girl's been dead for a long while, but got killed down the road. I'm just saying, like, if a child tells a story, I'm inclined to believe it because they're innocent. But the thing is,
children don't lie.
I said, if the girl shows up and is nice to the kid or whatever, okay, the Lord can do what he wants. But if your grandma shows up scratching, throwing dishes, trying to get on top,
right.
It's probably not your grandma.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, I think you can distinguish if it's a gift from Jesus to let you see, or whatever you've asked. It's between you and him. and you know what a familiar spirit is.
I can remember being a kid, small kid, I don't know, probably 4 or 5. And I used to always say to my mom and my grandmother, promise me when you guys die, you'll come back and you'll visit me. And as I got older and I realized certain things, I said, well, promise me you'll never come back to see me. Like,
Yeah. I mean, there's, you know, like I said, that particular story, it's hard to, I don't know. You know, that's when I'm like, you know what? In the end, I don't know what Jesus does. His thoughts are his thoughts. Ain't got nothing to do with me. I can't get to that
right.
level. And I was like, if he wants to,
So it's above my pay grade.
yeah, exactly. That's what I said. But I said, but I'm just saying, if it comes back and it's being mean to you, I don't know. I wouldn't say that to grandma.
Right. Jeez.
But
there is so much that we don't know, that we're not privy to, that, you know, like I said when we opened up the show tonight, is that the Bible, because I know there's going to be certain people who are going to say what you guys are talking about is not biblical. You know, the Bible is just the timeline of humanity. It's just tells the story of humans from creation to, you know, through Revelation. And there's definitely, we're not the only creation by God. We're not the, we probably won't be the last either.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he can do what he wants. And like I said, what I talk about is just my experience. I've explained how I've been concreted in it and the belief in him. Because I did not believe in him. I hated the thought of him. I thought he was a made up, you know, wartime effort theorist. You know, I thought it just, and plus I was made to read the scripture. So I think if I would have stuck with how I was raised and what I was doing and being forced to do, and you know, like going to church and like, you know, listening to 2 readings and 1 reading from God, from Paul to whoever, you know, it's like that's what drove me away in the first place.
Right, me too. Yeah.
Having to listen to these Bible stories that were like, you know, taken out of and put into a hymn, or, you know, a predated book. You know what I mean? I didn't read the Bible anyways. I had a predated book that was in the pew with you that, you know, every Sunday is in there or whatever. And people who are Catholic obviously know what I'm talking about. But the thing is, like, if I was on that track and not knowing about the Nephilim and Mars and Rahab and all this other stuff, that's just me. And the Lord's told me before, what you explain ain't for everybody. And if they already know me, then don't waste your time. And that's true. I'm like, you know what? Do you believe in Jesus? Wholeheartedly. I said, then you don't need to hear what I got to say. But in my thing, I see walking around, people are just like, you know, caught up in this church stuff and the gossip, and they ain't learning nothing, because I didn't learn anything. And I know that I'm a pretty common person. So I know that I have things in common with other people. And I just found that if I'd have took that road and sat there and did these little studies, like, you know, I was part of them, just like Lori said, you're asking questions and they're like, oh no, here she comes again. But it's like, you know what? No, I'm not going to sit down and listen. I want to damn know. This is my salvation. Like, you know, I'm not thinking about some white guy who flew down off a cross and is going to save me from stealing a candy bar. You know, it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, when I've started the whole Gnostic series, and I started down that rabbit hole of Gnosticism. You know, I don't want people coming back on me and thinking that I'm a bad person for doing it, because it's, you know, it's a question that you can't sit there, and it's kind of with this whole topic tonight. You can't sit there and claim that we're being lied to about our human history, and yet in the same breath think that everything that we've been told in the Bible is true. I understand that it's supposed to be the inerrant word of God. I get that. But mankind has messed with it. They have the agenda.
Yes, you're right. And I'm not saying this is real, but
entertainment purposes only.
Yes, educational purposes, entertainment. I got on my green leather shirt that Lori made me have in that AI thing. So I'm sure I said it before somewhere. Psalms 46, 46 words in a shake, and then 46 words from the end, backwards basically, is spear, Shakespeare, in Psalms 46. That's just weird to me.
Yeah.
Now, can these little silly humans, Francis Bacon and John Dee, can they like manipulate the words of the Bible? Technically, yeah, but the meaning and the salvation and the grace and the faith and the human mind to say, you know what, there's something more here. They can't defeat that.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the faith in Christ comes in. It's like, you read the Bible and you take it. If you pray, that's why you always have to pray for discernment. You have to pray for the discernment, and He will provide it for you. And you have to be real specific on that too, as well.
Yeah, because
He'll show you some stuff that, wow.
The Lord refuge, my fortress. I mean, think about it. The one psalm that they wanted to sign, Francis Bacon signed Shakespeare because he was Shakespeare, that he wanted to sign the Bible, actually, translated verse is like, the Lord is my refuge. I mean, it defeats anything. Isn't that great? Like, the Lord's like, yeah, I know that they're going to do this, so I'm going to tell you that He's my fortress and it just can't be defeated. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had somebody that was, because I was in an argument about the King James version of the Bible and stuff, and she's one that actually, she wrote a letter to me, like a 7-page letter, scathing letter to me, and it's mailed it. But anybody can write a Bible. I mean, look at Schofield, look at Darby, look at, anybody can write a Bible, anybody can pen a Bible, it's, people, their defenses, but God says that nobody can add to or take from. No, nobody can add to and take from the word of God, meaning what is put in our hearts by Him. Nobody can take away or add to that. But the written word, of course, can be tainted, can be manipulated. So, we covered a lot tonight.
Yes, I think we did. I think I did. Yeah, thanks for keeping me on topic. I think I did kind of good.
Yeah. And as always, you guys keep an open mind. And we just put the information out there just to give you guys another rabbit hole to go down and to research.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with me. I said it in my TikTok. I just put it out there and say it because I guarantee you probably haven't heard it anywhere else. And I'm not special. I just firmly believe, as I was told it, that, hey, that way you recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
Like right back, snap of a finger, boom. Oh, wait a minute now. It ain't got to be necessarily me that tells you. It could be anybody that you hear that from, but it's just the fact that you'll know it.
Right. You've heard it before. You'll know it. You might not be totally remember everything about it, but at least it'll give you a starting point going, you know what? I heard this. I heard Laurie and John talk about this. I'm going to look into it and I'm going to start researching.
Yes, because
my next project.
Exactly. Remember, the falling away must come before the son of perdition, Antichrist, is revealed. So,
speaking of which, that I have gotten into, I don't know if you see I've started posting on TikTok. I have. If I see one more post about September 23rd and the rapture, I'm going to literally lose my mind.
Yeah, the old rapture.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I mean,
so
yeah, no.
I've just that and Trump. They're whining about Trump. That's all over freaking TikTok. I don't know if it's just my FYP, but I'm so sick of seeing it. Hey, if you so there's a TikToker out there. His name is Taco. Have you seen him?
What's his name?
Taco. Taco speaks. Or Taco.
No, it seems familiar to me. What does he do?
He wears glasses. He's real good at describing or explaining the Bible and explaining things and calling people out and
okay.
Yeah, I'll send him to you. There's him and there he is. Taco Talks, and I'm gonna hold on a second.
Have you seen the guy named the Holy Nope?
No.
Okay, yeah. What? That's funny. He He attends. I'm trying to look here. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen that guy before.
Yeah, there's this guy, and
Yes.
then there's Ryan.
Yeah, Dakota,
Dead Hidden.
Dakota Day or whatever.
Dead Hidden. Yeah, he's from
Yeah.
He lives in Texas. He was the one that lived in
Alaska. Yeah.
Alaska. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Tony.
Both of those are two really good channels to follow. Guys, if you're not.
The Holy Nope. He takes footage from like different churches, and he's like, I got my Bible ready to hear the Word of God, and then shows them walk out the door, and then it shows like he'll play footage from a church like they're dressed up like Little Mermaid characters, and they're during the sermon, and
What's his name?
It's crazy. The Holy Nope. Nope.
Oh, the Holy Nope. I'll have to look him up.
You'll laugh. He has a lot of different clips. It's real stuff. It's real.
Cool. Thank you, Ken, for putting John's TikTok link up in the chat. I will make sure that gets put underneath in our description so you guys can find John over there. Yeah, and like I said, I've started posting as well. I've sat pretty dormant for, I don't know, since I started. I think I only had like 5 or 6 videos on there.
Yeah.
So, well, John, thank you.
Very welcome.
And we're going to be back next week. I'm not sure of the topic yet, but I think we should maybe talk about the egg.
Yeah. Let me know.
I will. Yeah, sit down and think about it for a little bit. See if we can get. Now, do you have any problem doing any other day other than Wednesday?
No, well, we can do other days if like Ernie wants to join in or whatever.
Okay. All right. Because he's got family obligations on Wednesdays now. So
yeah, just let me know.
Okay, I will. I will do that. All right, everybody. I do want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank all of our moderators. I want to thank everybody in the chat. And remember, guys, this is just for educational purposes only. It's not saying that, we're putting this out there as gospel, but it gives you guys some new information. It gives you guys a place to hopefully start your own research and dig around, and maybe it'll answer some questions that you guys have that the Bible, the holes that have been unanswered. So, all right, we will see you all next time. Remember, guys, eyes open, no fear.